Welcome to today's workout. We are calling it Toy Story. So you're going to notice some commonalities in this week's workout. We're going with a Pixar theme with each of the workout names. Again, today's Toy Story, and you're going to notice some similarities in the structure as well. Today we're looking for 5 rounds, and good news is we have some built-in rest to most of these workouts. So we're looking for 40 seconds of a working set and 20 seconds of recovery in between each movement. So that means you get built-in rest and transition time. Our workout today, we're looking for some tricep chair push-ups, some goblet squats, some dive bomber to downward dogs, some goblet squats again, some planks, and we're gonna wrap it up with some tabletop crunches. Let's jump in. All right, our first movement, we're gonna get those chest, shoulders, and triceps going with some tricep chair push-ups. So if you happen to have a chair at home or an ottoman or even the couch, you can use that to help elevate your arms so we can work on those tricep push-ups. The difference between a normal push-up and a tricep push-up is we're keeping your elbows pinned to your side as you lower yourself down towards that chair. So think about keeping those elbows really pulled in tight, and especially as you're pushing out of that low position, try to really push them in even harder towards your sides to help prioritize those triceps. You can always do these from the knees as well, just as Caitlin dropped there. That's a bit more of an less challenging version, so you can really work on depth. If you're on your toes and you find you can't get quite as low as you'd like, this is a good variation for you, or you can start on the toes and drop to those knees if you need to a little bit into the set. And now we're going to transition into some goblet squats. So you can use a dumbbell if you happen to have one. If you have a kettlebell, you can hold it underneath your chin here as well, or a gallon jug or anything you have for resistance, kitty litter, you name it. Our stance here is a tiny bit wider than shoulder width. We've got a slight angle out to those toes, and we're really shooting those hips back and down. Again, working those thighs to parallel to the ground, or at least trying to get as low as you can in that regard. Notice Caitlin's keeping that weight really close to her chest, if not resting on her chest, and right underneath her chin. You want to make sure you keep it close to you so you don't challenge your lower back in a bad way. You want to keep that back working, but in a safe and practical way, which is what we want to shoot for by keeping that weight close to you. So always keep the weight in those heels, especially as we drive out of that lower position. And then once we're done with that, we'll rest that weight down and get on to the next one. All right, setting up for our next movement. This is going to be a new one for many of you. This is a dive bomber to a downward facing dog. So a little more of a complex movement here, but good for shoulder strength, good for getting that core activated, and some hamstring flexibility as well. So we're going to start in a high plank position. We're going to swoop down and up through the arms, and then we're going to push your head back through your arms and your hips up high like that. And then we're going to swoop back down, head high, push back through, hips go high there. So notice we're getting through that full range of motion. If you can't do this with that high plank position, what you can do is start by transitioning to a high plank instead of the dive bomber, and then going into that downward facing dog. So that's not going to be as challenging as going for that dive bomber, but it's still going to challenge your core, challenge your shoulders, and you're going to get that flexibility of those hamstrings as well. All right, we're going to set up again for another set of those goblet squats. Just as we did previously, we're setting up just a slightly wider stance than your shoulder width, slight angle out to those toes. Again, we're keeping that weight close to you, right up under that chin. We're sending those hips back and down. As you go through the second set in this round, I want you to try to focus on getting maybe a little bit lower than you did in that first set of these. Try to really push that depth, but also making sure at the same time you're really pushing your hips back as far as you can. It is okay to lean over your legs a little bit as long as your back is staying nice and flat. We're not rounding over in the shoulders. That's where you're going to get maybe some tension in the lower back. So if you can keep that back flat, lean over those legs as you push your hips back. That's going to keep that tension in those glutes, those hamstrings, and those quads. All right, and next we're getting into some plank holds. So nice and simple here. We're just working into that static hold of those abdominals, strengthening that core. So we want to set up so the shoulders are right over your elbows, and we've got that tailbone tucked. And what that tailbone tuck is going to do is not only is it going to protect your lower back, but it's going to engage your abdominals even more, which is the whole goal of this movement. That's something a lot of people overlook when they're holding a plank. They just kind of hold on for dear life just to get it done. But try to think about crunching and squeezing your abs underneath as tight as you can while you hold that plank. That's going to make it more effective. It's going to help make sure we're strengthening the muscles that we're aiming for, even more so than just kind of holding on. So we've got 40 seconds here, and then we'll move on to the next one. All right, and next we're going to get into some more ab work with a tabletop crunch. So good starting position. We've got your knees stacked over your hips or maybe pulled up a little bit more closely towards your chest, and we're going to go into that crunching movement. Ideally, hands behind the head just to lightly support it, making sure we keep your elbows nice and wide. Remember, we want to support the head. We don't want to yank on it. Our goal here is to think about connecting that sternum to your belly button in that crunching movement. It's not a huge range of motion, but it's just enough to engage those upper abdominals. Now I want you to think as you're going through these, if it's not too challenging, just like Caitlin just did, she extended her legs out a little further. That's going to challenge your lower abdominals a little bit more. But keep in mind, if it starts to get any kind of pressure in your lower back, you can always bring your knees back up towards you to help take some tension off of that. So that is the first round. Again, we're looking for 5 total rounds here. So definitely going to be a little bit of a longer workout, but you do have that built-in rest to look forward to between each movement. So post a sweaty selfie, post some questions if you have them, let us know what you thought, and we'll see you in the next workout.